and welcome. I'm Colin Daniel from riffninja.com, and this is lesson number 2 in a series of 3 lessons. And this is all about using the 9th chord and applying it in 12 bar. And in the last lesson, I showed you the D 9th chord and the E 9th chord and showed you how to move it around. This is a root 5 9th chord. And now I'm going to show you another way to apply it, and I'm also going to embellish it by augmenting the 9th. I briefly mentioned in lesson number 1 that my 9th note in the D was found at the 5th fret, 2nd string. See, the 9th note is 1 octave above the 2. In the scale of D, you know, the first letter name is D, the second one is E, you know, F is 3, G is 4, A is 5, you know, so if E is 2 and you go to the higher octave, then the D is 9, or should I say the D is 8 and the E is 9. So because this E is in the higher octave, it's considered the 9th rather than the 2. And we're going to apply it by sharping the 9th, meaning raising it. And this is a pretty harsh sounding chord in some ways, but placed properly, it can sound very cool. And you'll see this chord written out sometimes as augmented 9th or sharp 9th. For example, if I play the D like this is D 9th, usually that's the way you see it written out. If I add with my pinky on the 2nd string, and that will be the 6th fret 2nd string, you still have to clear that high E string. That becomes a bit of a trick. It takes a little practice. The one thing you got to remember is that usually that augmented 9th or raised 9th, sharp 9, is only used for a split second or two. So it's not like you got to hold it down for a whole 12 bar progression. It's an embellishment. It works really well. And here's what we're going to do. Last time I showed you in the key of A, and I used an A 7th, a D 9th, and an E 9th. Now I'm going to play in the key of E, and I'm going to go E 9th, then I'm going to go A 7th, and I'm going to add the 7th with my pinky too, just for effect. Then I'm going to go back to the E 9th. Then I'm going to go to the B 7th, to the A 7th, and back to the E. And this is where I'm going to add my augmented 9th to, or my raised 9th. So sometimes if you play the E like with this 9th, you'll see it written as E 7th sharp 9 because it has the 7th chord in it. And then you've got the raised 9th in it too. Sometimes you'll see it written out as E augmented 9th. And sometimes you see it written out as E 7th augmented 9th or E 7th raised 9th. So it means the same thing. It's just terminology. Just wanted to clarify that a little bit. So let's go through this now. I'm going to use a 12 bar. And I mentioned about my slide before. And this time I'm only going to use the slide on the E. And that's my tonic. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the E 9th. Now I'm going to go to my next change, which is the A 7th, and I'm going to add the 7th chord, the extra 7th. You can bounce back and forth from it, and then I slide back up to the E 9. Now to the B 7th and add the extra 7th to the A, and then the augmented 9th. Now, there's a ton of ways to use this, and I'm just going to have some fun with it for a minute and show you that you could do things like some very cool blues comping that you can do with that. And just remember that the 9th and the augmented 9th are still really workable with the basic 7th blues chord. They can even be played over major chords. I'm not going to get into the theory end of that, but that's another little hint because that'll happen too. Depends on the situation and the chord progression, because they are what I call a chameleon chord. They sit on the edge of being major or minor. And if you want to discover some more about chords like this, you can always check out my Ultimate Blues course, and that really digs deep into the chords. And if you like this and you want some more lessons like this, why don't you subscribe? And I hope I've kept you out of trouble and keeping your fingers busy and taking to the next step. And thank you for your time. It's always a pleasure. We'll see you in the next lesson.